The first time I saw Vera, I thought the world was ending. She appeared on a Tuesday morning, rising from beyond the industrial district like a second sunrise, except this one cast shadows instead of light. 50 feet tall, maybe more. Her silhouette cut across Ashford's skyline, and within minutes the siren started wailing. I was walking to my shift at the hospital when everyone around me began running in the opposite direction. Mothers clutched children, cars abandoned in the middle of intersections, pure panic. But I stopped. I stopped because while everyone else saw a monster, I saw something different in the way she moved. Hesitant. Careful. She stepped over buildings rather than through them. When a water tower collapsed from her proximity, she flinched backward so violently she nearly fell. That's not what monsters do. My name is Elena Vasquez, and I've spent 10 years as a trauma nurse. I've seen real monsters, the human kind. They don't flinch. They don't hesitate. They don't look around with wide, terrified eyes before taking each step. For 3 weeks, Vera stayed at the city's edge. The mayor declared a state of emergency. The National Guard arrived with equipment I didn't want to imagine being used. News helicopters circled like vultures, and every network showed the same footage on loop. The giantess who'd invaded Ashford. Except she hadn't invaded anything. She was just there, standing, sitting sometimes. Once I watched through binoculars as she picked up a broken piece of highway overpass and carefully set it aside, clearing a path for fleeing civilians. "Why do you keep watching her?" my colleague James asked one evening as I stood on the hospital roof, binoculars raised. "Because something's wrong with this picture," I said. "She's been here 3 weeks, 0 casualties, 0 property damage that she caused directly. She's not eating anything, not destroying anything for resources. What kind of invasion is this?" James shrugged. "Maybe she's planning something. Or maybe she's lost." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the way Vera had looked that afternoon when someone fired warning shots near her feet. She'd stumbled backward, hands raised defensively, and for just a moment, her massive face had shown such raw fear that my chest ached. I'd seen that expression before, in refugees, in abuse survivors, in people who had nowhere left to go. The next morning, I made a decision that would change everything. I packed a small bag, water, granola bars, a first aid kit, and a white bed sheet tied to a broom handle. My hands shook as I drove toward the military perimeter. "Ma'am, you can't be here," a soldier said, stepping in front of my car. "I'm going to talk to her." He laughed. Actually laughed. "Talk to it? Are you insane?" I looked past him to where Vera sat in the distance, knees pulled up, head bowed. "Probably," I said, "but I'm going anyway." They didn't let me through, of course. I had to wait until nightfall, then slip past the checkpoint where the fence met the river. My heart hammered as I walked through the abandoned warehouse district, my makeshift white flag trembling in my grip. The moon was full, which meant I could see her clearly. Vera sat with her back against what remained of a grain silo, her knees drawn up to her chest. In the moonlight, I could see details the news cameras never captured. The way her clothes, some kind of rough-woven fabric, were torn and stained. The way her shoulders shook slightly, rhythmically. She was crying. I was 50 yards away when she noticed me. Her head snapped up, eyes widening. In that moment, I felt the full weight of our size difference. Her face alone was larger than my entire body. Every instinct screamed at me to run. Instead, I raised my white flag higher and kept walking. "Please," I called out, my voice barely steady. "I just want to talk." She didn't move, didn't speak, just watched me with those enormous eyes. Brown, I could see now, so intensely human despite their size. 20 yards. 10. I stopped when I was close enough to touch her foot, which was longer than I was tall. "My name is Elena," I said. "I've been watching you. I don't think you're here to hurt anyone." For a long moment, nothing. Then, slowly, she moved. Her hand descended from somewhere far above, and I forced myself not to run as it approached. Each finger was the size of my torso. She stopped with her index finger extended toward me, hovering 3 feet away, an offering, question. I understood. My hand looked absurdly small as I reached out and pressed my palm against her fingertip. Her skin was warm, slightly rough, and I felt the faintest tremor running through her. You're afraid, I whispered. A sound came from above, a caught breath, then something that might have been a sob. Vera pulled her hand back and pressed both palms against her face. It's okay, I said, louder now. You're okay. I'm not going to hurt you, and I won't let them hurt you either. Slowly, she lowered her hands. When she spoke, her voice was like thunder played at half volume, deep and resonant but controlled. Why? The word rolled across the empty lot. Why aren't you afraid? I'm afraid, I admitted. I'm terrified. But I'm also a nurse, and I recognize pain when I see it. You're in pain, aren't you? Her massive eyes closed. A single tear, the size of my fist, rolled down her cheek and splashed against the concrete. I don't belong anywhere, she said, and the loneliness in those words nearly broke me. We talked through the night. Vera told me everything in a voice that started as thunder and gradually softened to distant drums. She came from a place beyond the mountains, a hidden valley where others like her lived. But she'd always been different, too small for her people, who valued size and strength above all else. They called me Runt, she said, the word bitter in her mouth. Weak, useless for building, for hunting, for anything that mattered. At barely 50 feet, she was the smallest adult in her community. They tolerated her until her mother died, and then the tolerance ended. The elders gave her a choice, leave or be forced out. So she left, and found herself in our world where she was impossibly, terrifyingly huge. I've been alone for 2 months, she whispered. I tried to stay hidden, but I was so hungry, so tired. I thought maybe if I came to a city, I could find, I don't know, something, someone who might understand. Dawn was breaking when I asked the question that had been burning in my mind. What do you need, Vera? What would help? She looked at me with such desperate hope that I felt it in my chest. Not to be alone, she said simply. Just not to be alone anymore. I made a decision that my boss, my friends, and definitely the military would call insane. Then you're not alone, I said firmly. I'm here. I'll help you. Elena? No, listen. You haven't hurt anyone. You've been nothing but careful and gentle. The only reason everyone's afraid is because they don't understand. So we'll make them understand. Over the following days, I became the bridge between Vera and Ashford. It wasn't easy. The mayor wanted her gone. The military wanted her contained. The media wanted a monster story. But I was relentless. I documented everything. Her carefulness, her gentleness, the way she'd actually prevented injuries by clearing debris. I brought footage to the news, testimonials to the city council. I became Vera's advocate, her translator, her friend. And slowly, impossibly, things began to change. Someone donated industrial-sized tarps for shelter. A construction company sent surplus materials. A restaurant owner sent an entire truck of food, curious if she could eat human cuisine. She could, and she wept with gratitude over pasta. Vera started helping with the work her presence had complicated. She lifted heavy equipment for construction crews, retrieved items from dangerous heights. When a child's cat got stuck on a radio tower, she plucked it off like picking a flower. People stopped running when they saw her. And one evening, as I sat on a shipping container at her eye level, sharing my dinner while she ate hers, Vera said something that made my heart skip. Thank you, Elena, for seeing me. Really seeing me. The way she looked at me then, there was something more than gratitude in those enormous eyes. The change happened gradually, then all at once. It started with small things. The way Vera's face would light up when she spotted me approaching. How she'd carefully arranged clean spaces for me to sit when we talked. The gentleness with which her massive finger would brush my hair back when the wind blew it across my face. A gesture so tender it made my breath catch. You're the first person who's ever touched me without fear, she told me one night. We were alone in her makeshift shelter, the industrial district quiet around us. The first person who's ever looked at me like I'm beautiful, I finished softly. Her eyes widened. I was going to say person, You're both. The confession hung between us. I saw her swallow hard, her massive throat working. Elena, I need to tell you something. Her voice was barely above a whisper, for her anyway. The way I feel when you're near, it's not just gratitude. My heart was racing. I know. You know? I stood up from where I'd been sitting, walked to the edge of the platform, closer to where she sat. At this distance, I could see the rapid pulse in her throat, could feel the warmth radiating from her skin. I feel it too, I said. I don't understand it, and it's probably insane, but I feel it too. How? She breathed. How could you? I'm so different, so scared of being alone, so grateful for kindness, so desperate to be seen. I reached out, placing both hands flat against her cheek. Vera, size is just size. What's underneath is what matters. She leaned into my touch, her eyes closing. When they opened again, they were full of want and wonder. I want to kiss you, she whispered, but I don't know how with... We'll figure it out. And we did. Her finger, the size of my arm, traced gently down my spine as I pressed my lips against the corner of her mouth. What I could reach. The warmth of her breath washed over me, carrying a soft sound that might have been my name. I felt her tremble, felt the incredible restraint she exercised to be gentle. My hands explored the landscape of her face, the curve of her jaw, the softness of her lips, the slight wetness of tears on her cheeks. Don't cry, I whispered. I never thought anyone would want to touch me like this, would want me. I pressed my forehead against her chin. I want you, all of you, every impossible, beautiful, terrifying inch. She laughed then, a sound like distant thunder, but warm, joyful. That night, we discovered new languages of intimacy, her breath on my skin, my hands mapping the geography of her face and neck, the careful way her fingertip could trace my body, learning me. We were impossible, but we were real. 3 months after our first meeting, Ashford had transformed. Vera wasn't just accepted, she was essential. The city council officially hired her as Infrastructure Development Assistant, a title that made her laugh every time. She helped with construction projects that would have taken crews months. She became the world's most effective emergency responder, able to reach disaster sites and move debris that no machine could handle. But more than that, she'd become part of the community's heart. Children no longer feared her. They waved and called her name. The elementary school made her an honorary playground monitor, and nothing was more precious than watching her carefully supervise recess, her massive hand cupped protectively above the swing sets. And every evening, I'd meet her at the construction site she called home. Tonight, as I climbed the scaffold to our usual spot, she was waiting with something behind her back. "What are you hiding?" I asked, smiling. "I made you something." She brought her hand forward, and in her palm sat a structure made of carefully welded metal beams and smooth concrete. A house, scaled to my size, with windows and a door, and even tiny furniture inside. "I thought," she said shyly, "maybe you'd want to live closer. To me, I made sure the foundation can support it, and I can move it wherever you want, and if you don't like it, I can—" "Vera," I touched her thumb, tears in my eyes. "It's perfect. You're perfect." Her smile could have lit the entire city. That night, in the house she'd built for me, positioned on a platform at her eye level, we talked about the future, about impossibility and hope, about the family we might build. Not conventional, maybe, but ours. "The world is finally seeing what I saw from the beginning," I said, curled against her cheek as her finger stroked my back. "You're not a monster. You never were." "I was lost," she corrected gently, "until you found me." We found each other. The city lights sparkled below us. In the distance, I could hear music from the night market, laughter from late-night cafes, normal life continuing around us, accepting us. "They're calling me something new," Vera said. "Did you hear?" "What?" "Guardian. They're calling me the Guardian of Ashford." I smiled against her warm skin. "It fits." Because of you, Elena. Everything good in my life is because of you. No, I said firmly. Because of us. Because you were brave enough to stay. Because I was brave enough to walk toward you. Because we were both brave enough to believe that love doesn't have to fit anyone's expectations but ours. She made a sound of contentment, and I felt it rumble through her entire body. In the city below, people looked up at us and smiled. The giantess and the woman who loved her. The guardian and the heart that had saved her. Together, impossible and perfect and home.